Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and in this video, I'm going to share with you guys the games that I have beaten in these past 3 months. As always, I don't really go into spoilers with these games. I'm just giving you my honest opinion about my playthrough of them in a shorter, more brief kind of take, and also get you guys motivated to beat your games. Of course, before we start, please hit that like button if you end up liking the video, and also, if you have games that you've beaten recently and want to share them with me, feel free to leave your recently conquered games in the comments down below. I would love to read them. Alrighty, now let's get into the video. Okay, so I beat a total of, drumroll please, 7 games. Now you may be like, oh Mandy, that's 3. Well, because most of the games, oddly enough, are digital games, which is kind of weird for me. I am usually a physical girly, but the reason why I got them digital is because they were really hard to find, and in one case it was a legit game keycard, so most of them are digital. And I know this channel's for JRPGs, but one of them is not a JRPG, and that's fine. That's how I keep my, well-rounded gamer experience. I don't only play JRPGs all the time. I like to sprinkle in something different so I don't get overwhelmed and burnt out on my favorite JRPGs. Alrighty, now enough with all that yapping. Let's get on to the first game, and that is Octopath Traveler 0. Guys, this game was so good, and dare I say it's my favorite Octopath Traveler game in the trilogy. If you guys don't know, Octopath Traveler 0 is based on the Octopath Traveler mobile game. It's basically the whole lifespan of the mobile game put into one game, and that's why this game is really long. And plus they added the town building mechanic, which depends who you are, you will really get addicted to that as well. So I beat this game on January 11th, so it was my first game of 2026 that I beat. And like I mentioned before, Octopath Traveler 0, since it's a mobile game, does have a unique pacing to it, which a lot of people say it's kind of weird, especially in the beginning, but you really get used to it, and I actually love this style of storytelling. It felt like you could literally put the game down and then come back and it won't be that jarring. And the stories themselves were just peak storytelling. It has a way more darker tone than the other 2 games, and as you go on, the stories just get better and better and better. You can really tell, like, these things came out in installments, but when you're playing it all at once, it makes for a fantastic experience. So you play as a silent protag and a customizable protag too, and you start off in this really scenic village called Wishville. That's a horrible name, but let's roll with it. But all that nice stuff is not gonna last, because soon one of these famous generals busts in, burnt down the whole city because he is looking for a ring. And in this universe, these rings are powerful, but in exchange for corruption. And I love how this game just goes with the villainy. Like, these villains are like villains. There's like no redeeming qualities in any of them. And normally I like more nuance in my villains, but for this game it really works. Oh, and if you guys don't know, this game is a prequel to Octopath Traveler 1. There's actually characters from Octopath Traveler 1 who make a cameo in this game. And another thing that's different about this game from the other 2 Octopath Traveler games is the gameplay. So instead of having 4 characters, you legit have 10 characters. There's the ones in the first row and then the ones in the back row, and you get to interchange between each characters, and you get new characters along the way. Each of them has a unique trait to them, so you really have to think which character should be in your party and which shouldn't. And of course, some characters are OP as heck, but others are kind of just there. And then there's the building aspect, which depending who you are, you might really get addicted to this, but for me personally, I felt like there could have been more. It was underbaked, so to say. And of course, the HD 2D graphics are always on point. Some people don't like them, and I'm just like, are you blind? This game looks beautiful. Now, is this game good for newcomers? If you haven't played the other Octopath Traveler games, I say yeah, though I do recommend you play the first one first to get really invested into the Octopath universe, but it is a prequel and you still could go in if you're a newcomer if you want to. So overall, I just love this game so much from beginning to end. It was a roller coaster and I was just happy to be on it. Next game I beat is Tales of Exilia. This one I actually streamed from beginning to end if you want to check that out. It's in my stream playlist. But overall, this game was really, really good. Not one of my favorites in the Tales series. That one still goes to Tales of Arise, but this one is a close second. So I beat this game on February 14th for my PS5, and it took me around 40 hours, but there's a reason for that. And I did a whole before you buy for this game, so if you want to check out what changes that they have and what the game is about, please check that out. And this is also my third Tales game that I've beaten. I still have a bunch more on the backlog, but I'm getting through them little by little. I don't want to just play the same series back to back to back. So for the story, this game takes a different approach. It's the first Tales game to offer a dual protagonist. So you get to play as Mila, which is the girl, and then there's Jude, who's the male. And each of their stories are kind of the same, but depending who you pick, you get a certain point of view that's exclusive to that character. And I've heard a lot of people say you should start off with Jude, but I started off with Mila, and I could see why people were like, you should start off with Jude. There's a lot of the story that is just not answered when you just go through Mila's route. So how's Mila? So Mila Maxwell is a mysterious woman accompanied by 4 powerful spirits, and at the beginning of the game, her spirit friends leave her because they were captured and she has to go save them, but on her own. So Mila has this whole fish out of water thing where she doesn't know how to be a human and stuff like that, or even take care of herself. Her 4 spirits usually just feed her, wash her, all that stuff. She has this whole, oh my god, what is this? I'm trying to understand. And even her voice acting is robotic in a way. At first it's cute, but as you go on in the game, it gets pretty annoying, not gonna lie. So I felt like they could have done that better. Not for Jude. I won't go too into it because I never played his route yet, but Jude, I would say he's very people-pleasing, but him and Mila do connect with each other. Oh, and don't get me started on Alvin. I hate his character so much. He is simply a backstabber who backstabs. And that's not a spoiler because he does it so much, you'll probably get that by the beginning of the game. Now, one of the more weaker points for me is the gameplay. I don't know why, but the Tales games have a very robust gameplay mechanic where it feels kind of too much. I could best summarize it as the gameplay of Kingdom Hearts, but more complicated. And honestly, it took me a while to really feel like I've mastered the gameplay. I will say the side characters do a really good job when they're on their own, so I didn't have to, you know, switch characters all that much. Oh, and I did like the links. The links are really cool and they're easy to use. You just press one button when you see the little flashy thing. That's it. But yeah, for me, the gameplay was one of the weaker points. Overall, I would say this game is great. Alrighty, now on to another game that honestly I didn't expect I would play. Tokyo Xanadu. I really love this game. Like, holy cow, I loved it way more than I thought. So why did I want to play this game? Well, basically, we got a Nintendo Direct that said Kyoto Xanadu was coming out this year. So I was really intrigued and I was like, you know what? There is Tokyo Xanadu. Why don't I play that? I put it in and I was addicted, guys. Now, if I were to describe this game to anybody, it would be Persona X Trails. That's basically the gist or vibes I get from this game, but it does do its own thing. And the story itself is pretty solid, nothing too out of the ordinary. You're just a student who happens to find this other mystical world that's always been there but in the shadows, and you and your other friends have to go and defeat these enemies before they get to normal human beings. Now, in the beginning of the game, they do mention a huge earthquake, and a lot of people think it's just an earthquake, but obviously there's more to it. I won't say it here, but it's not just an earthquake. So again, the story is not anything revolutionary, but for what it is, it's pretty cool. And I do hope that Falcom really invests into this series so it can become like Trails or the Yi series. The gameplay is where it's a bit different. Tokyo Xanadu takes a page from the Yi series and has an action RPG gameplay, which is really fun. That's what really got me addicted, was just the dungeon crawling. I loved it. So basically, again, it's like a dungeon crawling thing where you have to defeat different enemies, and not gonna lie, sometimes it was pretty hard. The game is not anything Dark Souls related, but it's not the easiest thing ever. I played the whole thing on normal, and there were times where I had to, you know, run it back because it got pretty hectic, but it all comes down to who's in your party at the same time. You're only allowed 3 characters, which is a sin. Should have been 4. And each of your characters has strengths and weaknesses and different weapons too. Your main boy Ko has a, what is this this thing. It's kind of like a fire whip or something. So you really gotta balance which characters you take into each dungeon. The dungeons are unique, though some of them could be kind of samey. Although there are a few cons. One of them is, while the story was very nice and heartfelt, sometimes it could get pretty generic, not gonna lie. And another thing I want to mention is, in like every Falcom game, there's this option to go high speed mode. But for some reason, this game, when you go high speed mode, it goes so fast you can't input the right buttons at the right time. Easy solution is just to turn it off. But it was just really weird when I would do high speed mode grinds in a dungeon, and then I have to keep turning it on or off depending on what I had to do. Hopefully they fix it with the Kyoto Xanadu. So the next game is Metroid Prime Beyond. I needed to take a break from the JRPGs just to play something different, and this game was honestly really good, though I have a lot of critiques. So first person shooters are not my thing. So for my sanity, I went into the settings and put it on casual mode. No shame in that. I'm saying it right here. I played it on easy mode. I'm not good at first person shooters, so I felt like it was warranted. Now for some context, I haven't played the other Metroid Prime games. So this babbling about Metroid Prime 4 comes from a new player perspective. Although I did play Metroid Prime Dread, that's about it. So initially, I really didn't find anything wrong with the plot. It was a typical space opera kind of thing. There's a dying species and Samus has to help them little by little, and ultimately go and collect the magical MacGuffins. And in this magical planet, there are other people who also got stuck, so you gotta find those people too and figure out a way to go back home safely. So yeah, the plot was very solid, but I will say it did not keep me engaged. There were times where I was just pressing A because I was just like, I don't really care about this barren planet as much. And I don't know, it just felt disjointed at times. Now the human characters were awesome, even Mackenzie. He was annoying at first, but he's pretty chill towards the end. There just could have been more story-wise, but there wasn't. But okay. What did I think about the gameplay? Again, I'm not good at first-person shooters, so I had to play it on casual. And from there, it wasn't really that bad. And the new thing about this game is Samus's new upgrade, which is like the psychic thing where she could do different charges, where you could slow down time and hit it, and do other stuff, which is awesome. And then there's the scan visor, which I didn't use a lot, and you could tell by my end screen. But I didn't want to scan. I didn't really care for that stuff. I will say that Metroid Prime 4 looks beautiful on the Switch too, but you could really tell like the game wasn't as fleshed out as it should be. The desert, which is like the hub world, don't get me started on that. The deserts were so boring, and it's criminal how Nintendo put the background music in an amiibo. Like, who does that? Especially in the area where you need it the most. But Nintendo kind of did this game dirty, honestly. There was like little to no marketing for it. No exclusive Treehouse, no exclusive Nintendo Direct. When you know the Mario movie had like 3 Directs, this game was just tossed into the ether without any fanfare. So all in all, the game was good. It was a nice distraction from my usual JRPGs, and I do hope that Nintendo treats the Metroid brand a little bit better. Alrighty, so the next 2 games, yes, I'm gonna lump them together because they're really similar, and that is for Atelier Verona and Atelier Totori. 2 Atelier games, 2 different experiences, and I'll get to that. Now, I've played many Atelier games, but I'm missing some of them, and 3 of them are from the Arlen trilogy, which is Atelier Verona, Atelier Totori, and Atelier Memoru. So I got 2 of them down, and then there's another one called Atelier Lulua, which is kind of like the 4th one in the series. So this makes 2 more Atelier games that I have to beat to completely complete the modern Atelier games. So the first one, Atelier Verona. I honestly was dreading playing this game because I heard the time mechanic was so intense, but it wasn't really that bad. Yes, the time mechanic was there and it was really strict, but it wasn't as strict. Mostly because when I go out to gather stuff and battle, it doesn't take up time. So honestly, the time mechanic, while yes, it's there, it really wasn't that much of a hindrance to me. Obviously, I would have loved it more if I didn't have a time mechanic, mechanic looming over me, but with the earlier Atelier games, there's always going to be a time mechanic. And also the alchemy is pretty simple. In Atelier, Verona, and Totori, it's just clicking different ingredients, looking at the traits that you want, and bada bing bada boom, which I honestly loved. The story though is really grounded. So essentially, Verona has a master and their shop is not doing as hot. So the king of the kingdom was like, if you don't do these assignments in 3 years, your shop will be closed. And that's the whole premise of the story. And of course, this being an Atelier game, it focuses a lot on the characters, which I really did enjoy. So overall, I just love this game so much. I love Atelier games so much, not just because they're cutesy and fun, but because it's my comfort game. Now on to Atelier Totori. Atelier Totori is honestly my least favorite Atelier game out of all of them. And I'm gonna tell you why, but I just couldn't stand it, and it made me really frustrated because there was a lot of good things in this game, but the way the game was structured, it made it really hard to enjoy any of it. Like I said, a lot of people were really hesitant on Atelier Verona because it's time mechanic, but with Atelier Totori, the time mechanic is increased by like 10 times. It is so intense, and it got so bad that towards the end of the game, I got a bad ending. Like, I legit got a bad ending. So I had to go back to a previous save, try to maximize my time as much as possible, and man, did I hate this game for making me do that. Alrighty though. I should just cool down. So in Atelier Totori, the time mechanic works where not only do you have to travel to a different location and it takes you a lot of days, like 8 days, 7 days. There was one that took me like 30. That's like a whole month right there. You also have to navigate grabbing different ingredients and battling enemies, because that too takes up time, and you have like about 3 pickups or battles before it's the next day. So a lot of the stuff I loved about the game, like Totori, the characters, the setting, was thrown out the window because I had limited time to really interact with them. But anyways, let's get on to the story. So the story of Totori is actually pretty good. It's a very family oriented kind of story. So Totori wants to look for her mom, but the only way she could do that is to be an adventurer, and she needs a license for that. But you have to get to a certain point to renew it after 3 years, and then you have 2 years to meet your goal. This game I wanted to love, but I couldn't because I had no time to love it. And that's why this Atelier game is my least favorite, because I really didn't have time to do anything, and it didn't really give me those calm and cozy feels like the others do. So anyways, this is like the most negative I've been on an Atelier game, but it was kind of warranted. Now, the last game is a game I was wrong about. I was wrong about this game, and that is Pokemon Pokopia. So I did roll credits, although there is a ton of things to do after the game. And honestly, it's so refreshing and it's so addicting. Oh my god. And I'm here to say it's okay to admit that you're wrong. Now, to be honest, the trailers that they did show were bad. So, you know, it was kind of a mix of it shouldn't have been $70, why the heck is a key card, and the trailer looked kind of meh. But then I saw footage, and then I saw gameplay, and then I saw everyone raving about it, and I was like, okay, maybe I missed something. So I bought it for myself, and I literally could not put that game down since I've gotten it. It is so addicting, and this comes from a person who loved the Dragon Quest Builders game. I love Dragon Quest Builders. So the same people who developed that are developing Pokopia. I can see the similarities, and it has that addictive quality to it. And the story is overall pretty good for a Pokemon story, and I do love how all of this is from a Pokemon perspective. You get to interact with different Pokemon, you get to see their different quirks and personalities. It's really cool. Now, the gameplay is so freaking awesome. So it's basically like Dragon Quest Builders. You get to build a lot of things, and you literally have so much space and resources to make this world your own. The only thing I don't like is sometimes you have to have Pokemon follow you, and that could be kind of clunky if like the road is not cleared. I feel like that was a little bit annoying at times, but other than that, the game is just like super good. So overall, I'm enjoying the game so much, and I'm glad that I finished the story scenario so I could really dedicate into like building and being creative. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know what games you've beaten, and also hit that like button if you liked the video, and consider subscribing if you like this video and other videos on the channel. So I hope you guys have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.